dear people! This is Rose Domingo, your digital creator here on YouTube. Today, we will be talking about the greatest generation. Are you excited? Kalimutan natin yung generation na ito. The greatest generation is also known as the GI generation and the World War II generation. This is the demographic cohort following the lost generation. Meron pang lost generation preceding the silent generation. The generation is generally defined as people born from 1901 to 1927. So the people born before 1901, they are already the lost generation. Kasi wala na sigurong buhay sa kanila ngayon. They were shaped by the Great Depression and were the primary participants in the World War II. Imagine, meron pang greatest generation. Etymology. The term the greatest generation was popularized by the title of a 1998 book by American journalist Tom Brokaw. In the book, Brokaw profiled American members of this generation who came of age during the Great Depression and went to the fight in World War II, as well as those who contributed to the war effort on the home front. Brokaw wrote that these men and women fought not for fame or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. This cohort is also referred to as the World War II generation. Date and age range definitions. Pew Research Center defines this cohort as being born from 1901 to 1927. Strauss-Ho used the birth years 1901 to 1924. Characteristics. In the United States, members of this generation came of age, were children, or were born during the Progressive Era, World War I, and the Roaring Twenties, a time of economic prosperity with distinctive cultural formations. Additionally, those alive in 1918 through 1920 experienced the deadly Spanish flu pandemic. They also experienced much of their youth with rapid technological innovation, like for example the radio, telephone, automobile. Amidst growing levels of worldwide income inequality and the soaring economy. After the stock market crash, this generation experienced profound economic and social turmoil. Despite the hardships, historians note that literature, arts, music, and cinema of the period flourished. this generation experienced what is commonly referred to as the golden age of Hollywood. A number of popular film genres, including gangster films, musical films, comedy films, and monster films, attracted mass audiences. The Great Depression also greatly influenced literature and witnessed the advent of comics books, which were popular with members of this generation, with such characters as Doc Savage, The Shadow, Superman, and Batman. Next to jazz, blues, gospel music, and folk music, swing jazz became immensely popular with members of this generation. The term swing generation has also been used to describe the cohort due to the popularity of the era's music. The popularity of the radio also became a major influence in the lives of this generation. As millions tuned in to listen to President Franklin D. Roosevelt's fireside chats and absorb news in a way like never before. During the World War II, over 16 million Americans served in World War II. The majority being members of this generation, 38.8% were volunteers, 61.2% were draftees. Average length of their service was 33 months, and total approximate casualties were 671,278 killed and wounded. While Tom Brokaw and others extolled this generation for supporting and fighting World War II, American historian and sociologist Harvey Kaye writes that in addition to ending isolationism, most Americans of the greatest generation wanted to curb the power of capital, create economic growth and development, and poverty, and enable people to advance themselves. Post-war. Following the war, this generation produced children at an unprecedented level. Over 76 million babies were born between 1946 and 1964. Subsidized by the GI Bill, this generation moved their families into the suburbs and largely promoted a more conservative mindset as the country faced the threat of the Cold War and the Second Red Scare, while some were again called to service in the Korean War. The first member of their generation to be elected president, John F. Kennedy, began a space race against the Soviet Union, and his successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, further promoted a controversial Great Society policy. Research professor of sociology Glenn Hall Elder Jr., a prominent figure in the development of life course theory, wrote Children of the Great Depression, 1974. The first longitudinal study of a Great Depression cohort. Elder followed 167 individuals born in California between 1920 and 1921 and traced the impact of depression and wartime experiences from the early years to middle age. Most of these children of the Great Depression fared unusually well in their adult years. They came out of hardships of the Great Depression with an ability to know how to survive and make do and solve problems. Those are the most important facts about the greatest generation. Thank you for watching. I hope I've just added a little bit knowledge about said generation. Okay? Please read the description box because I will put the link below. Thank you so much. I'll see you on my next video. God bless. Bye. And keep smiling.